Good afternoon, guys, and welcome back to the shop. And welcome back to this 2009 Cardinal fifth wheel project that I've been working on for a little bit longer than I want to at this point. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I did just replace this door right here. It's a brand new friction lippered door, and I think it's a little bit better. Now, I'm sorry if I didn't make a video about replacing it, but it's really just like replacing a window on an RV. Take the screws off, put the seal on, put the screws back on. Pretty simple. However, what I would like to point out, where we last left off was sealing up the slide out rooms, and we put a piece of foam in, and now that the slide out room's all the way out, you can see that foam, if water does come this way, it's going to be pushed off away from the slide out room and even sticks out from the room itself. And I did do that on all the slide out rooms, all the way around, so hopefully water and rotten slide out room floors should not be a thing with this Cardinal fifth wheel. Of course, the factory should have done that from the beginning, right? But today we're actually going to replace the fabric on this power patio awning from Dometic, which is probably why you clicked on this video. And it's going to just be me all by myself. I'm going to prove that it can be done. Now, I will say, if you have two people, it's going to be so much easier. And secondly, if you do decide to do this, please understand you can hurt yourself or do even more damage to yourself and the RV if you don't know what you're doing. I already pointed out this is a Dometic power awning, so it does have a torsion spring on the rear arm. Not every power awning will have a torsion spring in it, so do not get confused. Like a Carefree Colorado will just be free floating in the back. You might be asking, why am I replacing this awning fabric? It doesn't look too bad. Sadly, it is actually pretty bad. It has a lot of sun damage on the top. The fabric is cracking and gonna fall apart if you ran it out and a gust of wind came across. And you can even see the sun damage if you zoom in right there. Just the difference in color between yellow and white, which is kind of a shame because I do run the awning out. If we look at the fabric, besides being dirty, the only real damage to this fabric is just right at the top where it meets the sidewall and is exposed to the sunlight. See all the tiny little holes in it. Now, while maybe this fabric might be able to last another few years, it doesn't seem like a fair thing to do to whoever's going to be the new owner. And I have it in the shop anyways. So if you're going to replace an awning fabric, the first thing you have to do is order the awning fabric. Now, on Dometic, you do have a tag right here on the tube. You can get the information right there and order a replacement from Dometic itself. But if you're like everybody else, you're probably just going to order a generic or aftermarket fabric for a better price. But to make sure you order the fabric correctly, you do need to measure it correctly. While you think it might be something just as simple as measuring the entire length of the fabric itself, that's not how you want to measure it. The industry doesn't do it that way. What you're going to want to do is measure from the middle of the awning arm all the way across to the other side to the middle of the other awning arm. And then you're going to use that information to choose a fabric close enough without going over to that length. Now, lucky enough for me, I've already ordered the fabric from everybody's favorite distributor. And this is a aftermarket fabric. I wish it didn't come folded up like this, but you are supposed to unfold it as quickly as you can before the folds become permanent. Now, this is from Skyland Freedom Rides and Dreams Abide RV awning fabric replacement. And no, they didn't sponsor me. It was just the cheapest fabric I could find. Now, obviously, before you start doing any job, do make sure your new part's going to fit. So you should open up the fabric and check the fitment before you do anything, which I have already done. And I have laid it out right here to kind of warm it up so it's easier to install. Though in this summer heat, it might get too hot. Now, surprisingly, this manufacturer has actually sent you instructions on how to replace the fabrics, but this is going to be for a manual awning. So you may not want to use these if you do this fabric replacement. All right, so the first thing we have to do is give ourselves a little bit of slack to work on this. So run the awning out, I don't know, a little less than a foot. And remember, this is a power awning, so we do have spring-loaded gas struts on both arms. Without the fabric and the motor hooked up, those arms want to spring open and smack you in the face. So we're going to use a high-tech tool right here and zip tie the arms so they can't extend out accidentally. But we do want some slack on here. We don't want to tighten these up so much that the arms close back up again up there. All right, just like that. Now it can open up. Now the next step is we need to disconnect the tube and fabric from the two arms. Now remember, there's a torsion spring in the back and a motor up front, and that motor up front has a brake on it, keeping that torsion from moving. So what we need to do is put our own brake on it. So what we'll do is just put a little squeezy clamp on there. It's an old fabric. Just a little bit of pressure. We don't want to deform the tube. We'll go ahead and take the set screw out of the fabric on the rail, and we'll take the one off the other side also when we're down there. We'll go ahead and unplug the motor from power, or at least from the harness. Then using a 7/16 nut driver, we'll go ahead and take the bolt out right there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to lift this up, and this does want to twist, but with our stop right there, it's going to keep it from wanting to roll down. You see? Pretty simple. Now we just need to move the ladder back to the other side, and we need to pin that torsion so we don't hurt ourselves. Now for me, I found these pretty inexpensive straight picks or awls to be very easy for this, or you can get like a cotter pin. Now on the side of this torsion, on this cap, is a little hole on that side and another hole right over here. Really all we want to do is line it up until we can see the light coming through the shaft going. It's kind of hard to see. Hopefully you can see my flashlight through the hole that goes all the way across. Now I'll just go ahead and put this in. So now it can't twist. It's locked in place. And now we'll go ahead and take this 7/16 bolt out. And remember, if you didn't lock this in place, or you don't trust yourself, do not do this job, because once we lift this up, if we didn't do it correctly, this thing's going to spin wildly. It will damage your hands and hurt you. Let's go ahead and pop that up, and it didn't spin. And because we locked the arms down, they don't want to pop out either. Now the next step is to reposition our ladder. Ideally, if you had two people, this wouldn't be so much work. But we're going to take this clamp off. Once we take that off, it wants to unroll, so be careful for that. And so we're just going to release the clamp, and then we'll let it roll down using gravity, helping us safely go down the ladder until we reach the very end. Now with the tube safely down on the ground level, it's going to be much easier to work with. We're actually just going to take this motor side off, and hopefully we shouldn't have to molest the torsion side. Now I always like to make a mark so I know where it was before. And we'll just use a 3/16 drill bit. We'll just drill out all three of the rivets. With all three of them out, you should just be able to knock it off. It's on there a little bit stronger than I thought it was going to be. Now we're going to set that aside. My next problem is I thought it would unroll a little bit further down, so I'm going to have to get this slide out room out of the way. And now I should have enough room to pull the entire tube out. Now for installation purposes, I'm just marking the two grooves that I will be using for the fabric. And then I'll just pull it completely out. Pretty simple so far, right? And now I just have to pull this out because it's going to be so much easier this way than to go forward into the sun. I can literally use the roof of the slide out as a platform, so I don't have to keep moving a ladder around. Look at that, the old fabric's off, one person doing it. Now for me, because of this installation, how it's at, I'm going to actually let this awning arm extend out a little bit more so that it's not in my way as I'm trying to feed the new fabric on. I'm lucky enough to have some pretty long and thick zip ties. And then let the awning arm extend out a little bit more, just like that. And now I have the clearance off my platform that I need for the fabric. Now even though it's already been widened a little bit right there, it's always a good idea give yourself a pretty big channel, and then use a file if you need to get rid of any sharp edges so we don't tear the new fabric. And while you can use a dry lube or a silicone spray, you can also use glass cleaner, but of course this will evaporate pretty quickly in the heat. This will make it much easier to slide the new fabric on. So we'll grab the fabric, making sure we grab the insert that's going to go in the rail. Now, of course, we want the hem side to be underneath, so this is going to be the top. But this is also the back of the awning. I need the front to make sure we feed it on the correct way. And I think this shouldn't be too bad using the slide-out roof as a platform. Now, keep in mind, slide-out roofs are not intended for walking on, so do be careful where you're walking and don't jump up and down on it. Go ahead and get this laid out. And yeah, see, the roof's already dirty like I told you it would be. Let's go ahead and get our insert started right here and start feeding it through. Now I'll just get it started a little bit right here, push as far as I can, or I have to start doing a shimmy, which is right about there. But with the slide out room holding the weight of the fabric, I should be able to move this pretty easily, just like having somebody else holding the fabric for me as a second hand. See, incredibly easy. You can do it by yourself. It's easier if it's not hot though. All right, the next step for me is I have to move the slide out room out of the way again. Just like that. Now the next step is to feed the tube back on. Remember, I made a mark on those grooves of the tube. So I'm going to be lining up into these right there. So again, I do want to make sure that I don't have any sharp edges on either one of those grooves as I feed the fabric back on. Now I'm going to go ahead and measure. It looks like we have 198 inches from the end of the tube to the end of the cap right there. And the cap itself is about an inch. Now I measured the fabric. It was about 193 inches. So all total, that's about a 4-inch difference. So half of 4 inches is 2 inches. So theoretically, if I cut this to just have about 2 inches sticking out, that should roughly be about how much I need to have exposed. Now I'm also pretty lucky that the height of my step stool right here is nearly the height that the fabric is. So I should be able to put that right about there to support the tube because I don't have a second person. I'll go ahead and move up the groove. Now I should be able to lift the tube up, support the back of it on the step ladder, and then start feeding it on to the fabric itself. And with the lubrication, it should slide on pretty easily. So it looks like we butted up against the end of that insert right there. We come over here, you know, that looks like it's going to be the perfect amount. Now all we need is the motor back. We'll go ahead and cut that insert flush. And then this one just comes in, bends around on that little groove right there, so it kind of locks the whole thing in place so it shouldn't slide back and forth anymore. Go ahead and slide the motor back in. And right about there, so everything lines up. We'll just be using some 3/16 pop rivets, and of course my absolute favorite rivet gun. It's so easy. Look at one-handed. Let's do 2 more of them. Simple. Now maybe, just maybe, the next part is the hardest part to do by yourself. We're gonna have to roll it back up again. And we're going to put the clamp on the tube carefully so don't damage the fabric. That's pretty much going to be the hardest part. However, it is going to be very important when you go to roll it up. Make sure you're rolling it over the top of the tube. We don't want to go underneath because it won't roll up the right way like that. So just take your time as you're rolling it up. And we'll just go ahead and lock this side down with the bolt, making sure you start it by hand and don't cross thread it. Not speaking from experience. It's also important to note on these, there are 2 grooves and 2 corresponding splines that need to line up. You can see the splines right there and the arm end right there. You can see them on both sides. And now with this one secured, we can go ahead and take the tension off by torquing the tube a little bit and pulling the pin, which should be pretty easy to do because we do have the stop on. Should be able to slide it in place right there and put in the last bolt, which again, make sure you don't cross thread it. And now we just have to plug the motor back in to the harness down here. All right, now with that, the fabric's been replaced. We just have to take the clamp off, just like that. Take our safety zip ties off. Whoa. And really the last thing to do is run it in and out a couple times to have it center itself. All right, got a little dirty, I can't deny it. We'll go ahead and run it back in again. See, need to center itself right. Do it a couple more times. We want to make sure that when it's rolling up, it stays square on the end. Kind of like perfect. So now the last thing we want to do is lock the awning fabric in place with some screws so that it doesn't slide back and forth. On the awning rail right here, and we'll even add a second one back here because the factory didn't for some reason. Which sadly does seem to be the story from Forest River on this 2009 Cardinal. Just skipping a few steps. But that's it, guys. That's how you change out a fabric on a power Dometic RV patio awning safely by yourself. All right, well, maybe it wasn't that safe, but successfully. If you are interested in safely changing out a patio awning fabric by yourself, you want to go to skill above at rvtesters.com. Chandler has developed the top hand. It has a vacuum pump and a 12-volt winch that helps you do it safely from one location. You don't have to move the ladder back and forth. It's pretty brilliant how it's done. I'm just stubborn. So there it was, guys. Yet again, one more thing off the list of items I needed done on this 2009 Cardinal fifth wheel. We got a brand new door, brand new roof, brand new patio awning fabric. I'm pretty much down to the rear paint and body work that I have to do. And lucky for me, now I have a really nice drop cloth for when I do the body work. Now, of course, I will leave a link to the fabric that I use, but I have no loyalty to it. And for those that were interested, the fabric that I changed out was from Shade Pro, so not the original one. I suspect they're all pretty much the same material, unless you're talking about the Tough Topper, which is different, or an acrylic woven fabric. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Bye. Oh yeah, one more thing, guys. Don't forget, never leave your RV awning extended and unattended. Even if it's overnight and you're sleeping inside, the wind, the rain has a habit of damaging these things. The manufacturers of awnings are only brave enough to call these retractable shade awnings. They can't handle weather. Remember, if you're not around, put it away. Hopefully now, like this, you can see the stark contrast between the sun damaged and the not sun damaged part of this fabric. It's pretty. Man, that's really wild. I can't believe they gave you how-to instructions. I mean, if you do it wrong, are they liable? If you hurt yourself, are they liable? I don't know. Is there at least a disclaimer at the front that says don't do this? No. No warning. It's on them. Why you think it'd just be as simple as simple? Why you think it might be just as simple? Choose the close enough length to choose the close enough. And we should just be able to. And then with all three of them out. Save that for later.